2024 was overall a bit of a disappointing year for movies for me, with an average rating of 3.03, which actually stacks up as what could be my worst year for movies ever, given that in previous years I haven't watched as many movies as I have this year. So with that in mind, this is my personal top 10 worst films of 2024. Coming in at number 10, we have Gladiator II. Years after witnessing the death of Maximus at the hands of his uncle, Lucius must enter the Colosseum after the powerful emperors of Rome conquer his home. Man, where do I start with this one? In my view, this movie does the worst thing possible that a sequel can do. It tarnishes the original. The whole implication that Lucius, played by Paul Mescal, is Maximus's son suggests that Maximus must have been having an affair whilst with his wife that we see in the first movie. It completely undercuts the story of the original film about love and dedication to family. Not only that, but the story itself here just lacks originality. It takes so much from the original, but just does it in a significantly worse way, and ultimately, there's a bunch of plot holes and things that just don't make sense. Paul Mescal's performance here really suffers from a poor script. A very disappointing movie, but you can check out my full detailed thoughts in the card above. At number 9, we have Rebuilding Coraline. Behind the scenes featurette explaining the process to make new Coraline puppets 15 years after the film's release. I will say, guys, this is pretty harsh to be here on this list, and don't get me wrong, I love Coraline, and it was awesome to get to see it re-released in cinemas. The problem I had with this short film that played in theaters after the movie is that I just didn't really understand anything about how the actual re-release of Coraline was made. Were they reanimating every scene? Why were they remaking these models? Yes, the craft behind the film looked incredible, but watching this didn't really give me any further insight into what actually happened behind the scenes to make the re-release happen. At number 8, we have The Return. After 20 years away, Odysseus washes up on the shores of Ithaca, haggard and unrecognizable. The king has finally returned home, but much has changed in his kingdom since he left to fight in the Trojan War. I will say, guys, my dad loved this movie. It was one of his personal favorites for the year, and he gave it 4.5 stars. But for me personally, it really left me frustrated. The premise of this movie feels like a Logan-esque spin on an ancient revenge story, but instead it was pretty slow and drawn out without a coalescent theme or meaning behind the film's ultimate conclusion. It seems confused on what it's trying to say. Is violence and war necessary? The film spends most of its runtime suggesting that it's never a good thing, but it ends completely at odds with this in the events of the final act. It felt very contradictory for me, and it just made the whole slow pace of the film feel really tough to sit through when, in the end, it didn't even have a fully realized, cohesive message or vision. At number 7, we have Venom: The Last Dance. Eddie and Venom are on the run. Hunted by both of their worlds, and with the net closing in, the duo are forced into a devastating decision that will bring the curtains down on Venom and Eddie's last dance. Yes, Tom Hardy is fantastic as Venom. Yes, their dynamic is fun to watch on screen, but that's not enough to carry 3 movies, a whole trilogy, guys. And when this movie wants to sacrifice all sense of stakes just for Venom to dance with Mrs. Chen, you've got some serious problems. The ending just completely failed to pack an emotional punch. So many other things I could talk about and complain about with this movie, but if you're interested in my full detailed thoughts, you can click on the card above to get my full review of that movie. For number 6, we have Megalopolis. Genius artist Caesar Catalina seeks to leap the city of New Rome into a utopian, idealistic future, while his opposition, Mayor Franklin Cicero, remains committed to a aggressive status quo, perpetuating greed, special interests, and partisan warfare. Now this, sadly, was a disaster. An ambitious disaster, and I want to give Coppola full credit for pursuing his creative vision, but it was a disaster nonetheless. The story here just completely fails to have any kind of momentum. The world building is consistently inconsistent, and I just found this one really tough to sit through. It did have some funny moments though, I'll give it that. The boner arrow, or who could forget the classic meme-worthy line,
"To go back to the club."
You can also check out my full review for this one in the card above. For number 5, we have The Fall Guy. Fresh off an almost career-ending accident, stuntman Colt Seavers has to track down a missing movie star, solve a conspiracy, and try to win back the love of his life, all while still doing his day job. As an Australian, I really wanted to like this movie, and as a Ryan Gosling fan, I really wanted to like this movie. But man, the humor in this thing just really didn't land for me. I found so many of the jokes quite cringeworthy. As much as I'd love to see Sydney on the big screen and featured in action set pieces, it felt way too much like a tourism ad. And who on earth would want to go and see that science fiction film that they were making in this movie that was apparently meant to be so good? Sadly, I do feel like the box office really did reflect the quality of this movie, but hey, some of my mates really loved it, so I could be wrong. For number 4, we have Kinds of Kindness. A triptych fable following a man without choice who tries to take control of his own life, a policeman who is alarmed that his wife, who was missing at sea, has returned and seems like a different person, and a woman determined to find a specific someone with a special ability. Man, this is the kind of Yorgos Lanthimos that to me feels like sitting and listening to nails on a chalkboard. Look, I loved Poor Things. It was definitely made as more of a crowd pleaser, but it's sad because for me personally, that's when I feel like Yorgos is at his best. While the opening story here was really promising and it's a great cast, man, the second half here was just so rough and unpleasant and dry to sit through. I get that is kind of the point of the film, but for me personally, that kind of thing just isn't enjoyable to sit through. Coming in at number 3, we have I Saw the TV Glow. Teenager Owen is just trying to make it through life in the suburbs when his classmate Maddie introduces him to a mysterious late-night TV show. This was one of my most anticipated movies of 2024, and sadly, it was a complete flop for me. It sounds really harsh, but so much of the dialogue and line delivery to camera here just felt like a student film. The ending and the majority of the movie just didn't really make sense or feel cohesive in any way to me. I was bored and I really didn't want to be. The only thing I really enjoyed was some of the cinematography and set design, as well as the demonstration of TV shows from your childhood being nowhere near as scary as you remember them to be. At number 2, we have Doctor Who: Joy to the World. When Joy checks into a London hotel in 2024, she opens up a secret doorway to the Time Hotel, discovering danger, dinosaurs, and the Doctor. But a deadly plan is unfolding across Earth just in time for Christmas. Now, this is on the list because it is on Letterboxd, and that is how I rank my movies from each year. I know maybe you could debate that, and I do apologize, guys. Man, this rating might be a bit harsh, but it really just comes from the ongoing disappointment that I've had with this once beloved show over the last 7 years or so. The Doctor cries all the time, the characters feel so inconsistent, and the whole thing just feels cheesy and at times painful for me personally. You can check out my full review of that episode here. And at number 1, as the worst movie of 2024, we have Doctor Who: The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death. In the epic 2-part season finale, the Doctor and Ruby arrive at unit headquarters on a top secret mission, and a long buried secret awaits. You guys might be massively rolling your eyes again having this on a movie list, but it is technically on Letterboxd, and this one did actually screen at some movie cinemas. Once again, it just further demonstrates everything wrong with modern Doctor Who. The writing just lacks so much common sense and detail, the plot has so many holes, the whole thing is just being TikTokified, and none of the stakes or emotional beats hit for me at all. Sorry to say it, but again guys, probably the ongoing weight of my overall disappointment with Doctor Who influenced my rating on this one, but I'm really sorry 15th Doctor fans. I'm sorry. Well guys, those are my top 10 worst movies of 2024. Let me know down in the comments if you think I'm being harsh on any of these, but hey, that is the beauty of cinema. It's subjective. I know a lot of people love these movies, and I just love that. There's movies for everyone, guys. I'm not saying these are objectively bad. Personally, I just didn't enjoy them. And guys, if you want to see a more positive video, make sure you subscribe for my top 10 movies of 2024 coming very soon. Thanks for watching.